Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Conversations with Annassa. So happy to see you this morning. So let's start with meditation. Take a deep breath in. And feel into the energy center just below your belly button. And as you breathe in, feel how much area the air expands into. And see if you can just expand a little bit more. And you do that just by relaxing and allowing. So there's no effort to it. You just inhale and observe and allow. And then as we go through, you just take your attention to each energy center and allow it to show you what it wants to show you today. So hold your attention below your belly button, breathing into that space. I am in perfect union or perfect alignment, whichever word suits you. If either of those words sets up a judgment, then you want the other word. And you just watch. Then you take your attention to the tip of the tailbone. And again, do the same thing. Breathe into that space and allow with a deep sense of letting go. And just allowing yourself to see. And feel. And whatever other sense chooses to become involved in your experience. When you're ready, gently allow your attention to come up to your solar plexus. Breathe into that space just at the point where your rib cage ends, just under that location. Breathe into that space and allow. I am in perfect alignment. And this alignment is with our deepest and highest self. As the energy gathers and rises up, let it come into your heart space. Breathing into that. I am in perfect alignment. Gently take your attention into your throat center. I am in perfect alignment. As you feel the energy accumulating and rising up, take your
As you feel the energy accumulating and rising up,
between your eyebrows.
take
I am in perfect union as you breathe into that space. Now allow the energy to come up and out the top of your head, the crown chakra. Visualize a huge flower, 1,000-petaled lotus. And as you feel your central channel get going in the energy coming out in 360 degrees, circulating around your system, so that your energy field would look like an apple, with the central channel being the core. I am in perfect union. As you sit in the center of this experience, as you feel ready, bring your attention back to this space. And we'll begin our program. We're so happy to be with you. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. So we want to start with a little bit talk about our alignment, Rebecca's alignment with Annassa, and how that happens. And the reason we want to share that with you is because it's a demonstration of the process that we all must do to come into alignment with our highest selves, which makes available the unique aspects of our blueprint that we will manifest as our life force flows through our blueprint to invigorate us to express what we've come here to do. And each one of us, every single human being on the earth, has a different blueprint. So each one of us has a unique purpose that we came to fulfill for ourselves in seeking our own growth and happiness and alignment. Alignment is the simple word that brings it all together. And alignment as a word works for the microcosm of our own being and the macrocosm of the whole. Just like the highest best in ourselves is the microcosm, and the highest best for everyone is the macrocosm. And they are completely intertwined. So when we sit, we don't wish for alignment, we declare alignment because we understand that this declaration is the truth of our being at the core of what we are trying to do. And so we are uniting our intention with our understanding of the reality. If we wish for alignment, then we are creating a separation between ourselves and that alignment, just in the wish. So if we state the fact, I am in perfect union, or I am in alignment, then we just feel for what the experience of that alignment is. And the only role of faith is in the beginning as we establish ourselves in that alignment. And the only faith is that alignment is there for us to participate in and with and through. So back to what we started with, Rebecca's alignment with Annassa. So in order for them to channel through me, they don't come to me and make my frequency theirs. That's not possible. That is violating the laws of the logic of, well, we could call it the logic of love. We started calling it the logic of gratitude because we all understand the feeling of gratitude and how, as we feel grateful for something in our lives, our frequency immediately changes as we engage with ourselves in gratitude. And love is such a confusing word in our world at this time because it means so many things. Gratitude is a little bit simpler and still takes us into that field, which is really love, peace, joy, and gratitude all point to the frequency which is beyond that, which is in the quantum field that our linear minds can't imagine, because quantum is beyond linear. And so we are expanding into the experience of that energetic field, which is beyond love, peace, joy, and gratitude, which are the words that we use to convey our closest emotional experience to that field. Now, what Rebecca has to do to be able to channel Annassa is elevate her frequency to a certain level, which is the lowest level that they can come to communicate. So what we are really teaching you is how to do that in yourselves, and not necessarily to channel Annassa, but to channel the energies for you that will come through your blueprint to be enacted in your world to live out your highest purpose. Now, for Rebecca, that's being a channel for Annassa. For everyone else here, it will be different. But the experience of being in union, we cannot say that it's the same for everyone, but it is an upliftment. It is an upliftment into the experience of your highest purpose in being here in this time and place, in this life. And so what that means, going inside and elevating your frequency, raising your frequency, is as simple as going inside and anything that feels heavy, dull, dark, not in your highest, you bring it forward, you welcome it with everything you have. There is nothing that we reject in our experience. We bring it to ourselves and we resolve it into harmony. And in resolving our experience into harmony, we can access our highest self. So when you feel darkness in yourself, it's important to take responsibility for it, to own it in a way. whether or not it's yours or theirs, it's resonating with something in you that needs to come into harmony. You can take it as that. There is some resonance in you that is activated and disharmonious, and it is in bringing that, owning that, and saying Ho'oponopono to your highest self through that negativity. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Until your experience of alignment returns. From that experience of alignment, you can begin to move into your own highest purpose. So we wanted to describe that process for you. And we welcome questions. We also had another question about Wednesday night at the meditation. At the end, we requested questions from anyone who wanted to ask. And one of the questions we got was, did we prefer written questions to spoken questions? And the truth is, we'll take questions in any format. And what we love the most is when you speak to us and communicate, because that's when we can actually make the deepest connection with you. So we understand in our experiences that the questions that come through another or through electronic media, always we can feel into you, but not with the same degree of intimacy that we can when you speak for yourselves. So we were not asking for electronic questions because we want you not to speak. That is not our intention at all. That was a lot of negatives. Anyway, we welcome your questions in whatever format, and we're so delighted to be here. There was one more question, and that was about how you relate to quantum reality from the perspective of linear experience, which is the question that every single one of us has to deal with every day in seeking the experience of this alignment, in becoming this alignment. And the answer for us is just to allow yourself to expand. And as you energetically expand, the frequencies that come in will naturally begin to filter through your brain in such a way that you will rewire yourself, or we could language it, you will allow yourself to be rewired. But understand that there is really no other out there doing something to you. It's not like that. It's you allowing your inner to inform you of the highest. And as this happens, you become rewired so that the experience of quantum understanding, and it's not a mental experience, it is an allowing of never before perceived within you experience. First, it's allowing the idea that such a thing is possible, that the experience that you've had to date is not all there is that is available to a human being. That inside you, there are deep energies waiting to express themselves that only require your attention and allowing to come forward so that you can be a bigger, less limited person than you have experienced yourself to be to date. And so allowing for that possibility is really the beginning of meditation. It's allowing meditation to be a different experience than you've ever had before. And so we use the word allowing because it has within it the feeling of expansion, the feeling of connection, the feeling of embracing one's own wholeness, which is really what we are doing. We are allowing ourselves to become whole by aligning ourselves with source energy and understanding that that source energy that has created everything that exists in our entire field of experience has come from source energy, including everything that comes through us. And our energy field is a prism through which this source energy expresses itself. And our participation in as we begin to allow more and more, our prism gets clearer and clearer until we are the prism of our blueprint expressing itself freely. And the breath is the expansion and contraction of our union with that field. So we understand that it's impossible to express nonlinear from linear, but we've attempted to do that this morning, and we know it's not really possible, but we can point, and we welcome your questions. So how may we serve?
Please get into taking responsibility for your darkness.
Say that again.
Please get into taking responsibility for your darkness. What does that mean?
Oh, taking responsibility for your darkness. The question is, what does it mean to take responsibility for your darkness? It just means that you don't push it away. Most of our lives, we are engaged in a punishment rewards game with our external reality. When we take our attention inside and begin to feel sometimes our own darkness, taking responsibility just means that we don't push it down so that we can go do more punishment and rewards in the outside world. What we do is we invite it forward. Hello, darkness. Hello, sadness. Hello, pain. And we welcome it with love, with gratitude, and we say Ho'oponopono into it. And as we do this, each of us has a mountain of it in the beginning to move, and we do it shovel by shovel. And then as we do it, suddenly the mountain is much smaller. And then we keep doing it, and it's much smaller until we get to the point where we are engaging in our lives in real time rather than engaging from reaction that has yet to be dissolved within us. So what happens when we feel darkness in ourselves is the accumulated, often crystallized experience of our past that we have yet to allow to release. And the release of that crystallization comes as we embrace ourselves through that darkness. So always when we say Ho'oponopono, we are saying it to our highest self, inviting our highest self, our source energy, to dissolve this crystallized energy and bring us into harmony, into a new, as yet undiscovered frequency to live from. So we say Ho'oponopono to our highest self. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. And we are not apologizing to anything or anyone outside of ourselves. We have done nothing wrong. As a matter of fact, we are doing the highest practice we could be doing in turning our attention inside, in becoming introspective and dissolving these crystallized patterns. And our commitment is to our union, our alignment with the highest in ourselves, understanding that in the microcosm of our own alignment, we discover the macrocosm of total union. So this is the purpose and the meaning of taking responsibility for our darkness. It doesn't mean that we created our darkness. That has no meaning here. And the responsibility is our commitment to our own self-discovery, not any responsibility to any other. Our commitment is to ourselves to discover our highest purpose, our own particular flavor of union, and to begin to live from that communion with the highest. And we will discover that for some time we come in and out of this union. If we're really lucky, we just discover it, we're in it, and we just expand with it. And the only difference between someone who does that and someone who doesn't do that is the density of the experience to wade through. And also commitment is huge here. And, you know, we will be the first to admit Rebecca crawled out from under a rock in this life. She was not born into an enlightened family or a field of experience that lent itself to even the possibility of discovering enlightenment. That was not anywhere near her awareness as a child, as a teenager, even as a young adult. And then there were just experiences where grace is the power that allows one a choice to begin on a spiritual path. That just happened. And one day she sat down on a cushion and hasn't gotten up yet. Other people, it happens very differently. You know, some people, they're just born wanting to know God. That just happens. And each of us has our own time of discovery and our own time where it comes to us that we must make this inner commitment. But as Annassa, we're here to help you do that, to help you understand, to make the path clear so that you know what to do. We cannot do it for you. We can provide you with the energy to be able to cultivate this source, but we cannot maintain it for you. And if we were to elevate your frequency for you, then you would not have the experience of doing it for yourself. And we would be doing you a great disservice, because we rise by that which we fall. What that means is that when we engage the darkness within us, as we bring it into harmony, we have something to stand on. We have that harmonic frequency of conquest. And we don't like war metaphors, but it is about personal power. There is a way in which you are cultivating your own personal power to elevate your frequency. And there is an element of will involved. And really, the primary purpose of will is just to get yourself to sit down and meditate. And then as you declare yourself to be in union, you allow that experience to permeate your being. You declare this union, and then you feel into what that means. And in feeling and feeling and feeling this union, it will explain itself to you. And taking responsibility, we'll come back to that a little bit more. Very often, our first response when we feel something negative is to look for the cause in our external environment, identify that cause, and blast it in whatever way we can. It's kind of a stimulus response thing that we do. And so when we feel bad, we want to blame somebody. That's basically what we do. And it is counterintuitive to say, oh, I feel bad because this is resonating with something that happened to me. Who knows when? You don't even need to know what. And you certainly don't need to know who, but if you do need to, you will understand from within yourself over time. So when you feel negativity, taking responsibility just means, oh, okay, this is resonating with something in me, that's why I feel it. This doesn't mean that you allow yourself to be treated badly. That is something totally, totally different. This assumes that you've already taken yourself out of the field where people are mistreating you. So we don't allow ourselves to be disrespected in any way. This is not part of spirituality. And so part of what we end up unwinding in ourselves is those experiences where we have allowed disrespect, because we have to bring ourselves into alignment first with self-respect. Self-respect means we stop treating ourselves badly. And we can use Ho'oponopono for this too, because in Ho'oponopono, we are speaking to that which is our highest self. And so any disrespect that we have for ourselves, we can automatically untangle through Ho'oponopono. And that's very often our first layer of work, is to deal with our own judgment about ourselves, where we find ourselves lacking. And so we have done a big job of self disrespect and undermining our own personal power by not acknowledging the only phrase that's coming to us, not acknowledging that we are all God's children. And she is here to educate us out of that feeling of personal disrespect. Because the matrix of belief would have us believe that God is something outside that will come and tap us on the shoulder and save us in some way, and that there's nothing we can do other than to worship this something outside of us, this father figure that holds the patriarchal matrix of belief in place and controls us with rules about how we should behave on the outside. When we do this inner work of alignment, we become self-empowered with a capital S, because we begin to understand our union. And as our self-respect, also with a capital S, becomes in union, then we no longer allow ourselves to be dominated by the idea that there's something out there that can save us. Taking responsibility means that we understand that everything that we need to know exists inside us. That doesn't mean that there isn't information out there that can really help us in terms of our ability to live well. There's lots of information about how to do things, and the internet has even made that much more accessible. So education is what we can get from the outside, but inner freedom is what we are seeking. Inner freedom is what spiritual work is about. And that comes through this alignment. So we talked a lot. Let's have a few more questions. How may we serve? Please ask. Hi, Chris.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Happy to hear your voice.
Yeah, it's great to see you.
Yeah, you're looking well too. How
Thank
good
you.
to see you.
I'm wondering what role forgiveness plays in all of this. I know it's part of Ho'oponopono, but it's a difficult concept for me to grasp and something that I'm dealing with right now. So I'm wondering if there's a kind of a description of forgiveness and what role does it play? I know it's important. What is it and how does it help us come into harmony?
So forgiveness, first of all, forgiveness is about forgiving ourselves. That's the very first person who has to be forgiven. And, we'll go back to this self-responsibility question, because in our inner endeavor, when we feel negativity, we tend to judge ourselves and reduce ourselves. We judge ourselves and we kind of contract, like, oh my God, here I am in this negative thing again. That's a very common experience as we attempt to elevate our frequency. And then we condemn ourselves as failures. Okay, so that is the first role of forgiveness, is in that setting, which happens to all of us all the time. And so we sit down and we say, oh, I have the gift of doing this inner work. And my first responsibility is to understand that failure is not failure. Failure is learning how to forgive myself. And that is step one in this process that we do over and over and over again. And we begin to cultivate this self-forgiveness so that it happens quicker and quicker as we are doing Ho'oponopono. So it goes like this. Oh, here we are again in melancholy and depression. You breathe in the forgiveness. Oh, this is just learning about how to expand a little further. And it's kind of like digging a tunnel and the walls of the darkness fall on top of you and you feel like you failed. That just means you have to take out the trash, and forgiveness is how you take out the trash. So does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, it's a good reminder that it's practice.
It's practice, and we always feel in the moment like whatever feelings we're having, we're going to have forever. That's how feelings are. They come in, and they come in as waves. But when they resonate with something within us, we grab onto them and they feel like eternity. Oh, I've always felt this sad, and I'm never going to feel anything else. That's how we judge our feelings. And if we take 1 second to look a little deeper, we will have to acknowledge that, oh yes, I felt this before, but I felt a lot of things in between the last time I felt this. And this isn't the theme of my life. This is a recurring feeling, but it's not forever. Feelings are not forever, they're waves. And so maybe I'm over identifying with this feeling, and I can just release it in self-forgiveness and become again the clear field of expression of inner resource. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, you are so welcome. Thank you for the question. How may we serve further? Paul, we love what's filling your screen and are quite suspicious that it may be one of your recent paintings.
It's a picture of a river.
It's beautiful. We love it.
Oh, I got a question, this is Paul,
Oh, good.
or a comment. So the whole, when people mention enlightenment, it's almost pushes a button in me, and my antenna gets up, and I become very suspicious of people talking about enlightenment. And I know it's something to be pursued. It's the declaration of enlightenment that kind of gets the hair on the back of my neck standing up. You understand?
We'll attempt to answer. We're not sure we heard every word of what you said. So let us say it back and you can correct us. So what we understand the question is that we missed the noun. We did hear the part that when people say that they are enlightened, that makes the hair stand up on the back of your head. Now, there was a first part of the question about, was it about love? Was that the word?
No, it's a question about. I understand the seeking enlightenment. It's the statement that I'm enlightened, and that just that's a trigger for me to just say, "Whoa, you need to question what's going on here." And maybe that's from past experience, and I don't know. It's just
Well,
something that I felt when you were talking, and the word enlightenment came up, and it's just like I almost just don't trust that word.
we agree with you completely, completely, completely. Enlightenment is not a static event. And there is no such thing as reaching a goal. We have said over and over again that there is always more. And so to assume that you have reached a level, the finite level of arrival at enlightenment, that is false. That doesn't exist. And it doesn't exist because the field of expansion is forever. And it is unimaginable. And there is also what is attainment is somewhere in this question too. And you know, the very words enlightenment and attainment, they, you know, assume this linear reality that, you know, if you're a rocket ship and you go straight up, when you hit this strata of energetic awareness, then you have arrived. No such thing exists. There is always more. So whatever you have experienced to date, in order to maintain and continue to expand, it is a continuous engagement of flow and choosing, always choosing the highest. And knowing what the highest is you feel and feel and feel and feel and feel. And then when you have some confidence, you go in that direction. And you wait for the confidence before you move. And you feel and feel and feel and feel. And you follow. What you follow in yourself is the increased flow. So, what is flow? Flow is participation. And understand that we are both expressing flow and receiving flow all the time. That when an emotion comes through us, it's not necessarily because of our own experience. It could be a planetary, astronomical experience that's flowing through us that we identify with, and so we pick it up as though it's ours. And then it becomes a part of our experience, and we flow with it. And then what comes back is part of our growth. And we have this. And this is the ever-changing kaleidoscope of our field of awareness. So we kind of didn't spend a lot of time on what enlightenment is because we don't believe in it. We believe there is always more. It is our experience that there is always more. We as Annassa are continuously growing in our own energetic field and our understanding of that which is more. And so everything in the field of awareness and all the layers of density, from being a human being to all the dimensional layers. And you can go outward with these dimensional layers or inward with these dimensional layers. They are the same. And no matter which direction you go, you end up at source energy. And so this is, again, how to get from linear to quantum. When you have that understanding that the deepest inner and the furthest outer are the same, then you begin to understand quantum reality. Because this is the truth. And you'll notice in yourself that when you hear and experience truth, there is a visceral understanding that arises within you, that you know when something is true, even if you don't understand it with your mind. And that's why you're all here, because you feel the truth that's coming through, even though we can't always articulate it in linear language. And what we are pointing to as this field, which is just beyond our love, peace, joy, and gratitude experiences, what we are pointing to is the truth. It is this source energy that the deeper you go, the more you become, and the further out you go, the more you become. So this expansion is what we are choosing as we do our deep inner work. And we are allowing the darkness to fall away, to dissolve, to be forgiven, to be absorbed into harmony as a stepping stone to our greater personal awareness. And we do not hold enlightenment as a goal, we use that word to point to that which is beyond, but with the full understanding that no matter, there is always more. We hope that answers your question. Please tell us, Paul, if we didn't go there.
You went there. It's all good.
Thank you. How may we serve further? We love being here with you. This doesn't mean that we mind if you text us your questions. Totally okay. We love interacting. We love your questions. We'll take them however they come. Andrew, anything?
Can you talk a bit about focus? Because it seems to be an important thing, but not always easy.
Okay, so Andrew's asked us to talk about focus. He says it seems like something important, but not always easy. So focus. Focus is an activity of the mind where it narrows linear thinking. So it's very worthwhile in understanding material reality. Focus can be important in allowing ourselves to attend to our inner discomfort and its resolution. At the same time, we will say that as we come into nonlinear quantum experience, that feels very out of focus to a linear person. As we expand into the nonlinear, the focus which keeps the straight line perceptible, suddenly that becomes a double line, and quantum reality begins to become our experience. Quantum reality is by nature unfocused because you no longer perceive linear awareness when you're beyond it. So from a nonlinear perspective, focus doesn't exist. And yet, to actually play those notes on the piano from quantum awareness, you are in 2 locations at the same time. You are in focused third dimensional reality, and you are in unfocused quantum field. And so you are doing both at the same time with no perception of contrast or conflict. And so this is an example of focus and nonlinear at the same time. Does that make sense to you?
So can you apply that, say, to spiritual practice on
That is your sadhana. Does that make sense to you? Because the same thing happens to you when you are with a patient and you are focused on their situation. You are expanded into quantum reality, allowing the information that can change the energetic flow within that person by channeling the information that is required for them in the moment from the quantum field. At the same time, you have the focus to be where you are and allow this energy to come through you to change their reality. So again, this is being in 2 dimensions at the same time and really nowhere at all, because you are not holding to quantum reality, nor are you holding to 3-dimensional reality. You are participating in both at the same time. And so you have a very expanded focus, for want of a better word, that does not allow things to be, we'll say, one-dimensional, but this is where we have great difficulty with language, because there is the expansion of your awareness into the quantum field, and there is the focus of your immediate attention into the needs of the person in front of you, and then the allowing of solution and flow to come forward. And then there is the feedback of what that does. And then it just goes like that with the dance of the energetic awareness. Does this describe your experience at all?
yes. I was thinking about in a contracted state, and that just the recognition that you're in a contracted state involves a certain amount of 3D focus first, and that's sort of often the starting place. But it also can be a limitation, in terms of resolving that contraction.
Okay, so the question is about awareness of when you're in a contracted state, but there isn't the focus because of the expansion to actually know that you're in a contracted state. Is that
Or even the sequence that contracted state, recognition that one's going to contract, applying one's awareness to it in a focused way, and then letting go in terms of, but maybe it's not so linear.
Well, we would say that you have applied your focused awareness to your contracted state for decades. For decades. That has allowed you this experience of expansion with a certain amount of ease. And we would acknowledge that sometimes the expansion the image we're having is a helium balloon. Sometimes you have expansion like that where your feet are not quite on the earth. And so when that happens, there can be a contraction on the earth that you're not exactly aware of. And so there's this kind of, can you put words to it?
Um, disconnect.
Disconnect. Yes. So there is this disconnect between the helium balloon that is soaring in space, expansive and aware, and the contracted earth energy that makes for a non-union state. So when the identification is with the helium balloon state and the feeling is stuck in the earth state, then the awareness is to take your attention into your feet. Whenever you're aware of disconnect, take your attention to your feet. And even walk around, breathing into your feet. Have you done that?
Not recently, but yes.
Does that make sense to you as a practice?
Even the focus to remember to do that.
Yes, we would recommend that you put in your space, not so much your workspace, because in your workspace, you naturally do this in service to others. When you tend not to do this is in your play space, that you tend to space out, for want of a better word. This is where those words came from. That's spacing out, is expansion. And so maybe just a yellow sticky that says breathe into your feet, because that's where you tend to get the disconnect. When you're in the state of allowing yourself to just expand as pleasurable feeling, and then you disconnect to the contraction that has set in that you're unaware of. So at a certain point, you breathe into your feet. Then you feel the contraction and you know exactly what to do, right? Once you're aware of it. Oh, then there's the judgment of, oh no, here I am again. Does that happen?
Well, yes, or not really knowing how to resolve it.
Oh,
Myself or someone else.
so the first thing is forgiving yourself. Oh, here I am again. This is failure. This is a mistake. The first layer is to forgive yourself for that judgment, because that judgment is just another obstruction from matrix of belief that if we come back to a state that we think we have conquered, this is why war metaphors don't really work. They get us back into judgment. So if we come back into a state that we think we shouldn't be in anymore, that contraction, we automatically judge ourselves, we shut down further, and then, the mountain in front of us gets bigger and deeper, and we got to take out our shovel and do it again. Over time, we begin to understand that contraction and failure are not the same, that our in-breath and out-breath is expansion and contraction. That expansion and contraction are the natural rhythms of the universe. And that, do we judge ourselves every time we have to inhale? Do we judge ourselves every time we have to exhale? No, this is life in its infinite rhythm, which can be as simple as breathing and as complicated as judging every inflow as failure and every outflow as success, which really complicates our mental state just enormously. And then we get all tangled up inside because we're back in self-judgment and rejection. And so when we understand that it's really about flow and that we can just breathe into these patterns and allow the flow to reassert itself, we don't have to do a lot of mental emotional gymnastics to get back to what we already know, which is the flow. So you pull your attention into your feet. You say, okay, I know this is the way I'm made. This is my tendency. I'm not going to judge it. I'm just going to allow it to pass through very quickly and be myself. Does that make any sense? Thank you for the question. How may we serve further?
So we have a question that may be perfect to bring us into our meditation as it's time. So the question is, when you are breathing during the meditation and feel an area of resistance or tightness, do you have any advice on how to best unravel and expand the area?
Well, the question is, when you're sitting in meditation and you feel some contraction in yourself, some area of tightness, how best to address it? So our number one advice is the word allow. So the first thing you do is you just breathe into it and observe, and you allow it the opportunity to just dissolve. And very often that will happen. It'll just dissipate. And then if that doesn't happen, you breathe into it again, try again. And then you will feel very often judgment begin to arise. Oh, I can't do this. It's too hard. I'm never going to be, that kind of thing starts in your mind. Then you breathe into that, release it. That's just an old pattern, gone. Then you again come back to your contraction. You breathe into it. Still there? Okay, what's the feeling? And you just ask, so what's the feeling? And it may say anger, fear, judgment, maybe 10 things. So you say, okay, which one's most important? You just ask and you look. And it will come up, maybe judgment. So then you do Ho'oponopono into judgment. And it's like that. And may take you 10 seconds, 10 minutes, 10 days, doesn't matter. And these things come and go, they come back in layers. And understand when an old pattern comes back, this is not failure. This is spiraling to a deeper layer of the same pattern, which may be a familial pattern. It may be a pattern from a past life. It may be anything. So the most important thing here is that we suspend our judgment. Like we just say, okay, for today, when I go inside in meditation, I'm not going to judge anything. I'm just going to witness it, just for these next 10 or 15 minutes. Okay, whatever comes up that feels like judgment, I'm just going to let it go. And just feel and feel and feel into something else. So with that, let's take our attention inside. So we're going to go straight to the heart center in this meditation. And we will, when we stop talking, we'll open our eyes and just be available for you. Take your attention inside your heart center. I am in perfect union. Allow that feeling to expand like the concentric circles when you drop a stone into a pond. And now you feel into the energy coming up your central channel, out the top of your head in 360 degrees, coming down and entering your central channel, coming up and out. Feel into that experience and come into meditation. I am in perfect alignment. Hmm. We have so enjoyed being with you. Thank you so much for coming today. We're so grateful and honored to participate with you. Till Wednesday. Bye for now.